Now, 6,000 some 6,400, that's the number actually of teachers who have failed to make the pass mark at the licensure examinations. Without the license, they will soon lose their right to be in the classroom. Out of the nearly 8,000 who took the examination, less than 1,300 of them passed. So are the exams difficult, or the teachers themselves are simply poor at their work? That's the question we're asking, and we'll be breaking down the numbers and data for you shortly. First, though, a conversation with some teacher trainees on what their expectations are for the licensure examination. My colleague Jacqueline Anzwayeboa has been to some of the colleges, specifically the one here in Accra, the Accra College of Education, and has been interacting with some of these trainees.
Out of 7,728 prospective teachers who sat again for the Ghana Teacher Licensure Examination, only 1,277 passed. Today, we are at the Accra College of Education to interact with the students to find out their preparation for the Ghana Teacher Licensure Examination. Which level?
Level 400.
Level 400.
Okay, and you just completed, about to prepare. So I think I'll start with both of you first. How are you preparing for the licensure examination?
All right, so personally, what we were told earlier on, we had an induction ceremony recently for newly trained teachers. Okay. And so it was there that we were informed that it's going to be on some of the courses that we took while we were still in college. And then also there are some past questions that some of our seniors wrote, and so we could also rely on them. And
that is past questions?
Exactly, that's the recent years that they've written. But we were told that this time around it's not going to be like the previous years where we had numeracy, literacy, and then essential skills. But this time around it's going to be based on your area of specification, the courses that you did. For instance, if you are an English student, you are going to do something related to English, not something related to maths. But then there will be a general paper that everybody will be writing. So personally, most of us are doing our preparation on our own. So it depends on how you will do your own preparation. Some are relying on past questions, and others too. There are some groups that have been created that they are also benefiting from in one way or the other. Looking at most of the conversations we've had with some of our friends, it looks like they are lacking the materials, like materials to aid them in their preparation. And if those ones could be provided, like if there could be avenues how they can get
what
them.
Materials are
like,
those?
You see, this year it's going to be in a different form, unlike the previous year. So if the materials for the various areas that will be writing are available in their quantities, I think it will help.
Like sort of past questions, or?
It could also be in that form, or apart from the past questions, like any material that can help us in our preparation.
So sort of like a guide to help you. All right, so you have how many more years or months to write yours?
Basically next year by June, if you are to follow what they are also going by next year. So hopefully next year by June.
Which is exactly a year from now.
Yes.
And what are your preparations?
Well, as they rightfully said, it's simply going to be based on our specialization. So I'm also looking at what I'm being specialized in. I'm at the JHS department, so that's what I'm being learning all this while. So definitely that's what I'll be expecting questions to come from.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what about you?
Okay, personally, because it's next year, I have more time to organize myself for the examination, but I'm a little bit disappointed with the current issue, so I don't know. But I hope.
You say you're a little bit disappointed?
Disappointed.
Why?
Yeah, oh no, per the outcome.
Yeah.
Sure.
but what do you think is the problem?
Okay, I would say that the problem might be the system or the structure which were made in place for the examination to be conducted, where students didn't know the kind of topics they are going to answer questions from. There wasn't a guide, and also maybe there wasn't any form of orientation well made for students at their final years, where they will know areas or subsections where questions will be set from. So I think that wasn't done. That's why.
But the previous examination, there were demarcations as to people were writing numeracy and other stuff. That's what you are referring to, right?
Sure. I know I'm writing numeracy, literacy, but it is broad. I should know where there should be a curriculum specifying the various dimensions, so that when I'm learning, if it is literacy and I'm learning for licensure examination, I know what I'm expected of. But I think that wasn't done, because we are doing for a B.Ed program and the structure is there. We write examination, we pass, because we know year 1, semester 2, this is the course I'm studying. I'm expected to answer questions based on the course outline given me. But licensure examination, I don't have any course outline, I don't have anything. So if we are to pass, well, then I would suggest they should have a course manual for licensure examination where me being a candidate, I will know what I'm expected of.
What are your thoughts about the whole Ghana teacher licensure examination? What's your thought on it?
Well, personally, I'm yet to write mine, but looking at the result that just came in, I would suggest, if possible, it should be taken off, because I've been out for like 4 months. I was at Achimota 4 months to teach, and then I was able to deliver, if teachers could testify to that, without the licensure certificate. And if parents could entrust their children with me for 4 months, why can't I continue? Why should the teacher's competency be based on just that licensure exams? I've been in this college for almost 5 years now. I'm about to complete, and if that is not enough, I think that's also a cause why they are also failing. Just like my president was saying about the system, after school, it's not like right after you're going to write. It's a situation where they go home, people get married, they have families, and then there's nothing like classes for you. There's nothing like a book for you. No teacher. Nothing is being done for you unless you find your way out. Right after here, others go to work, others have family and other things to attend to. So the much attention that needs to be given to these licensure exams is not being given. And just like he said, there's no specific place that, oh, after work or after my day in, day out activities, I know I'm supposed to read this chapter, but it's not so. So all these things come up where the teachers are being, or the licensure exams is not being favoring some of us.
What about you?
So,
you think, what are your thoughts on the licensure exams? Should it be scrapped off, maintained?
so personally, like he said, he rightly said, every profession has a license.
Yeah.
So as teachers, or we should also have a license to practice. If you take the doctors, the lawyers, the nurses, they all have license that makes them to be in the system. So as teachers also, we are also supposed to have a license. That's one. But since it is new, NTC and all these organizations which are responsible for this teacher license, they are just they just came into the system, so they are finding problems to kind of merge that kind of thing. So one thing is fine, this is the beginning, so definitely there will be loopholes, but as time goes on, I'm very sure that as time goes on, things will catch up. But for now, we'll face problems because of how the structure is like.
So you think that it should be maintained?
Definitely, it should be maintained.
So you heard from these students from the Accra College of Education on their thoughts of the Ghana Teacher Licensure Examination. Jacqueline Ansuma-Yeboah reporting for Joy News.
Also, how bad is this situation? We'll hear from the National Teaching Council shortly. Let me bring in, of course, Nemako Owusu, who's the Director of Examination and Assessment. James Obeng is the Ashanti Regional Director for the NTC. We also have this afternoon Isaac Kofiaje, who's been looking at the figures and trying to break all of that down for us. Isaac, let's get to the figures, shall we? About what we are receiving and how bad the picture is in terms of the pass rates. So 6,000 in all?
Well, basically, I think we should put it this way. It simply means that if you picked 10 students who wrote the licensure exams, 8 of them failed. So if you sample 10 students, you find 8 of them failing and just 2 of them pass, and that's how bad the whole situation is. But we know this whole licensure exams was actually started in 2019, 2018, thereabouts, where, the whole thing was to, give teachers the license to practice. And just like they said, you need to pass all 3 sections. We have the essential skills where you have to obtain the pass, the pass mark, and then also the numeracy, and then also the literacy, where you have to pass these 3 to get that license. I have access to statistics on the literacy, and if you look at the figures, it's actually abysmal, and it's nothing to write home about, because if you look at the 2021 November June 2022, the highest mark now moved from 46 in 2021. There was an improvement. We are looking at literacy to 52. But then you also have the lowest mark also moving from 5 to 6. Average actually improved from the 29 to 31. So I can say that in 2022 June, you have the average, the average mark be those who had the average mark be more than 50%. Then in December 2022, there was another exam that was written where another improvement from 52 to 54 in terms of the highest mark. Then the lowest mark improves from 6 to 9. Average also improves from 31 to 33. Now, this year's own has been more or less like an outlier, because if you compare it to other years, the mark has been very abysmal, because the highest mark here, we are looking at somewhere 44/60. Lowest mark is actually 2/60. So there's actually a teacher who got 2/60 in the numeracy, the literacy aspect of these whole exams. And average score is 22/60. It tells you that you have more than 50% of the teachers who actually sat for these exams getting less than 50% of the marks that they are supposed to get. Interesting, aspect that we can also analyze. Let me bring that to you in terms of, if you look at the literacy, for instance, some of the words that they were finding difficult to spell, so spelling mistakes. So if you look at a word like headache, most of them couldn't spell the word headache. They were spelling it in this way, HEADIC, headache, instead of the headache. You also have people not being able to spell middle. People can't also spell punctual. People can't also spell gardening. They can't spell parentheses. They can't spell, pocket money. They can't spell first. People are spelling first, FIERS. So many, angles to analyze.
For those who are not very much confident with the approach and the mode of organizing this examination, what goes into it? How is it organized in the first place?
Well, so just like I was saying, you have to pass all 3 sections. The first section has to be the essential skills. The essential skills has to do with a child's psychology and all that has to do with a child's well-being. And then also we have the literacy aspect, which tests your ability, comprehension, essay, and grammar. And then the part where I believe most of the students have a challenge with is the numeracy, where we test your mathematical know-how and your ability to compute and all that. So if you are preparing, they simply tells you that you need to prepare for all these 3 sessions. There is no room for you to prepare your area of expertise. So if you are saying you are doing JHS education or you are learning to become a JHS teacher, the licensure exam doesn't give you that room to just have examination at that aspect. You have to prepare towards these 3 sections that I've mentioned: essential skills, literacy, and then also numeracy.
But then, so for instance, we have this on the screens pointing to some of the common mistakes that you'd find the teachers making as part of the answers. There are some remarks about deviation in some of the cases. This was also contained in the assessment, I believe.
In fact, yes. So, in fact, this, what you see on your screens right now, the student was asked to describe something. And instead of describing...
This is a teacher, we should...
Well, a teacher, in this case a student,
yes,
well, was asked to describe an event, but ended up writing a letter. So it is a complete deviation. And even in that letter, you find a lot of mistakes, grammatical errors in this letter that you see on your screens.
So these are some of the issues that the National Teaching Council, I believe, is alarmed at. But we're putting this into figure so we are able to tell what's happening in terms of the larger picture. You were pointing out earlier to the wrong
Some
spellings
mistakes,
and the correct ones. But for those who made it, is there any commentary on them, on their general performance?
Well, so those who made it is simply because they were able to, use their literacy, skills, and then also numeracy as well, and then show their competence in essential skills. But there were some recommendations. The first recommendation was that the features of the various essays, a topic should be emphasized, and when to use each should be clearly distinguished. So we are talking about literacy here. Then the teaching of paragraph structure and connection issued used by the writers to introduce, emphasize, or restate points in essays is recommended. So when you are actually writing your essays, you should know when to introduce a paragraph, writing in context and all of that. It simply tells you that most of the essays that were written were not situated in proper context. People were not moving from paragraph to paragraph in a way that they are supposed to. The structure of the sentences were not what they were, being required and all of that. So these are some of the recommendations for those who took the literacy, exams. Yeah.
Okay. I guess we are not by this casting a verdict on the abilities of the teachers to teach.
Not at all.
And
not
is
at
that
all.
what this is seeking to do, by the way?
Not at all, because if you look at the argument is that if you really want to test our competence, it should be on subject areas. If I'm studying to become, a JHS teacher, and you want to test me, I'm learning to become a mathematics teacher, an English teacher, a social studies teacher. You should test me in this area, not generalize something that I don't even have a curriculum, I don't even have course outline on anything for it. But the argument can also be that once a teacher, always a teacher, you must be prepared to be good, in terms of literacy, you must be prepared to be good in terms of numeracy, and then have the essential skills, the ability to understand your students psychologically and all that. So I believe these are some of the things that took in place when they were designing this, exam structure.
Okay.
But, as it stands now, if you sample 10 out of the people who actually wrote these exams, 8 of them could not pass them.
Isaac, thanks for spending some time with us on the figures. So how do we resolve this, and what's the way forward? We hear from some reps from the National Teaching Council. They're joining us shortly. Please stay with us here on the Pulse on the Joy News channel. We're just going into the figures, looking at the dynamics of this matters relating to the teacher licensure examination. Fortunately, we've been joined in studio by Nimako Dome. He's the Director of Examination and Assessment. Of course, James Obeng is also here with us. He is the Ashanti Regional Director of National Teaching Council. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. And why are we experiencing such a high level of the failure rate when it comes to the teacher licensure?
The failure rate is very high as a result of, one, this particular exams, those who sat, those who have been writing the exams severally, some 2, 3, 4, 5, up to even 10 times. So just like when you are preparing permanent soup and then you get the best out of it and you want to get something from the chaff, definitely you will not get the best out of it. So it is not surprising that the results has shown that high rate of failure.
When we talk about the regions, for instance, are the performances varying, or this is a general cross-cutting feeling, or, reports you're getting about the performance rate? Are some regions better than the others?
We don't report on regional basis. We report on institutional basis.
Okay.
So for now, we can't claim which region performs better than the other regions.
Is it because it's new? Some say that could be a factor, the fact that we've not practiced it for a very long time, and it could possibly be the reasons why teachers are not really accustomed to this. So is that a genuine excuse?
Not genuine excuse.
Okay.
The licensure has been in existence since 2018. For that matter, it is not new. And assuming even if it were new, the area they are examined, they are not new to them. Literacy, for instance, simple grammar topics that they treat from JHS, Concord, subject-verb agreement, tenses, at least so that if you are a teacher, you should be able to express yourself. We know that not all of them specialize in English language. We are aware of that one.
Okay.
That's why we don't call it English language, but literacy. Because even if you did not specialize in English language, the geography that you wrote, you use English language. English has been our means of communication. So this is the minimum requirement we want from the students. So it is not that English language, so we are going to test your ability in English language, but the minimum requirement that you should have simple questions that even if you give to JHS students, they should be able to answer. Right. So it is not new, and the areas also are not new. We thank God for the Minister of Education, Dr. Yao Edichum. Yes, then he even asked us to give content areas that we will examine them, sample questions, provide them at the net so that students can go there to revise it. And each of the papers that they write, they have at least 500 sample questions solved. This is the answer. The reason why this is the answer. We have provided all these things at the internet so they can practice. So it is not new at all.
How about the rate of failure? Who are these people? Are these teachers who are in service, or these are newly recruited teachers? We need to know about that as well.
These are those who want to be teachers.
Okay.
They have graduated from their training institutions, be it university or college of education. So the law said that the council should conduct exams for persons who want to be teachers and those who have completed their teacher education programs successfully. So these are not teachers who are in the classrooms, but they are yet to enter the classrooms. So the exams serve as a means of sieving them, in quotes, sieving them to get the best for our classrooms.
But then the training opportunities for teachers, because you know that obviously they have to refresh their minds, they have to refresh themselves even before they take these exams. Do you provide them that ample opportunity to prepare for this exam? Because they are still teaching, by the way.
They are not teaching.
Okay.
They have just completed from.
Okay, so these are the new ones?
New ones.
Okay.
So they have just come out from either university or college of education. Yeah. And in fact, because of the inception of these exams, almost all college of educations, they have even introduced the literacy. Previously, only those who specialize in English will study English to the final year. Okay. They are learning this time, they teach them English to the final year. So it is not those who are in classroom teaching, they have just completed and they want to enter.
But you see, I'm asking the question because even the newly recruited ones, you deploy them sometimes to the schools to try their hands on the teaching before you recruit them. That's what you do, Mr. Dom.
Yes, that one is they go for national service.
Yes.
So that one, they are not yet professional teachers. So they are considered to be professional only when they pass the Ghana Teacher Licensure Examination and they are given certificate and their license. So even though they do national service, we don't consider them.
Yes. So during that period, they may be occupied with the work itself. Don't you feel so? Why not provide them with some ample time? Okay, right.
That one, they are under their colleges, under GTech.
Okay.
So part of your training, you are being trained to be a teacher. So you must get the opportunity to be in classroom, to practice, to be observed. That one is done by their
in the schools, right?
So it is part of their training. And now you have got the training, then come, let's examine you to see how far you have taken the training.
But is this not also indicting, say, the colleges of education? Because the point is, if 8 out of 10, every 10, if we sample that, they're not making the pass mark, then it appears that there are some questions at the colleges of education, isn't it, Mr. Domi? or you don't want to say that directly?
But your guess is as good as mine. In fact, if you look at some of the scripts that the candidates write, then you ask yourself, how were they able to pass through universities or the College of Education to write this particular exam? Because those who write these exams are those who are completed successfully. So it brings a question of assessment. How do they assess those students for them to pass through the system to come and write this particular exam? So we have a point there. Then we need to look at how these students are assessed at their various training institutions.
So why are we not adding this to the very final exams that trainees write? Is there any special reason for that?
Previously, all colleges of education were under University of Cape Coast.
Okay.
So it's like they had common training. But this time, it is not the case. Various universities train their teachers. So there should be a common ground, common exams, irrespective of where you were trained. Hence, this examination was introduced. Because if it be part of their final examination, would the question be said by UCC or Tech or whenever? So now that, unlike our days, where all of us were under University of what? Cape Coast. These days we have various universities. So there should be a common ground.
Yeah, but I'm asking the question because the institutions vary, their mode of training vary. So why not give them a certain set of standards to subject the students to, instead of organizing a fresh examination for them?
Let me come in here. If you look at the Education Regulatory Bodies Act, 2020, that's Act 1023, it made it explicit that those who can sit this particular exams are those who have completed successfully. So why?
Okay, so that's the legal requirement.
Yes. So
for you even to sit to the exam.
While they're in school, they've not successfully completed, so they cannot take the exams whilst in school. So the law is clear that we can only conduct the exams when they are out of the school.
Okay, so that you're just enforcing law.
Yeah, we are just.
But are we also not scared at the same time that while enforcing this teacher licensure examination, we may be pushing a lot of potential teachers, prospective ones, out of the classrooms, when indeed our sector, we need more and more teachers to fill that gap?
The opposite is the case.
Okay.
We are not pushing potential teachers out of classroom. We are rather sieving out, pushing those who do not qualify to be in the classroom. So had not been these exams, you see the essays that they wrote. You see the kind of spellings that they wrote. So had not been these exams, these people would have found themselves in classroom. So we are not pushing potential teachers out of our classroom. And as my boss also indicated, this one is those who have already failed since the inception of the examination. If you ask some candidates, they will tell you, but these exams and they failed. Some candidates are even surprised that their colleagues are not, they do not pass these exams. So it is not examination that intends to push some people away, but rather to get the quality people in the classroom.
Okay, so what will be the future of these individuals, the over 6,000 persons? Are they cut off, or they would have to try again some other time?
No, they're not cut off. Fortunately, we are undertaking reforms this year, and because of that, the council has given them 3 chances, those who have referrals, to redeem themselves. They've already utilized 2 chances. Last year, December, they wrote one, and this year, May, another one has been written. So it is left 1 chance that may take place somewhere in November this year. So if after the last chance, if they are not successful,
then that's all.
No, that's not all. Those who are graduates can join the reform. The reform is about the pedagogy, general paper, and then the area of
Okay, so for the sake of my viewers who may not be able to follow this, when you talk about reform, so they are going to be giving a new form of training?
Yes, there's going to be a new form of examinations. The training the training is in the hands of the training institutions.
Okay.
It is not the mandate of the National Teaching Council, but there's going to be a new form of training where, a new form of examination where the candidates are going to write exams in the area of specialization.
Okay.
So if the person, let's say, went to university to do mathematics or geography, the person would take a paper in geography in addition to general paper and the pedagogy, that methodology.
But if they fail that November one, I'm interested in the next. What happens to them after the November again?
They fail the November one.
Yes.
As he said, they can join the new forms. But the new form, the requirement is that you should have at least first degree. And those who have failed, not all of them have first degree.
Okay.
Those who have first degree can simply join the new reforms.
So they would have to upgrade?
They will have to upgrade. And if so, they don't pass, it means they are not cut for teaching. They are not cut for teaching.
Wow.
And I want to stress that.
So they may not have the opportunity. You're just finding a nice way of telling us that they may not have the opportunity to enter the classroom.
Will you prefer those who write this to be in classroom teaching? But, one thing I want to
training
stress
college,
is
you know.
that this is not the reflection of performance of the Ghanaian teachers.
Right, okay.
Ghanaian teachers are very good. We have those who pass this exam simply.
Right.
Only few people are not good. And if you are not good, why should we entrust the future of Ghanaian children in your hands?
Well, that's an interesting question you're asking.
Now, if you look at the statistics, you realize that those who fail, most of them were trained through distance and sandwich programs. We have different types of training. We have regular mode of training where the student will go to
directly
university or college stay out throughout the mandated years. But also have some people who sit at home and then do this kind of distance and sandwich. So if you look at it, always the rate of failure comes from those who are trained through distance and then sandwich. So I think there's a problem with, you have to look at how some of them are trained.
I'm also interested in the story of those who are already in service, because you're pointing out that these are people who tried since and they haven't passed. So how about those who are already in the system? Are you going to develop a new?
Oh, for them, we have a system for them. They go for what we call continuous professional development. So while they're in the service, from time to time, they're supposed to upgrade themselves, go for workshop, in-service training to upgrade themselves. So that's how those who are already in the service are being...
Oh, okay. So this is supposed to be a single take exam?
A single take exam. And when it started, those who were already in the classroom were not examined. But those who joined the field
had to take the...
2018. So it is a single exam that you have to take.
How different is maybe the approach or the format of this examination from some of the other papers they may have been writing all throughout the colleges of education? Because the belief is maybe what you're writing in school and what you're giving them, you're basically subjecting them to different standards. Maybe you've imported some European standard from somewhere into these, examinations, which is making it impossible for them to write. Is it strange to them? Or it is, okay, maybe you cannot have your take on that.
It is not strange.
Okay.
Luckily, I attended college for education. Okay. In our time, we were not even perceived diploma or degree. That was 3 years set A. So I would think that what we learn will be easier than what they are currently learning. But if I compare the exams, the questions, to even what I learned at the College of Education, comparatively, I see that this examination is very, very, very hot.
Easy. Right.
It's very, very easy. So in fact, there's a question I have tried to answer, but I find it difficult to answer. I'm not blaming my colleagues at the university and college for education that they did not teach them well. Right. That would be unfair comment on my part. Right. No. But at times, what I ask myself is, how were these people able to pass their internal exams? How were they able to pass the final halt exams? Because if we just suppose these questions to what they were examining internally, you bear me out that what they learn in school is more difficult than this examination. But they were able
because
to
the
pass.
feedback from some is that probably this is taking a form of an aptitude test. They are not certain of what will come.
Let me come here.
Okay.
We have what we call INTEF, that's the National Tertiary Curriculum Framework, and that document was developed from what we call National Teacher Standard. The National Teacher Standard is the document that contains certain skills, values, and that we expect each teacher to possess. So the National Tertiary Curriculum Framework was developed from that particular document.
Okay.
And that's what the training institutions are using to train the student. So what we conduct, the other we conduct is not different. In fact, they are not new. Just that some of them, as you said, some of them think that they specialize in, let's say, English. Why?
Yes.
But the numeracy that they write is not mathematics, it's numeracy. If I'm to show you a certain script that we have two word clocks, one shows the start of workshop, the other one shows start of end of workshop, and the kernel was supposed to give us the duration of the workshop. They couldn't. So this numeracy is not mathematics.
Just reading the time.
Just reading the time, analog watch, just reading the time, give us the duration of the workshop. They couldn't. It was 2:30 for the start and then 8:30 for the end. And they couldn't.
But how about the trainers in the colleges of education? Is this not pointing to the fact that, well, maybe they're not following this framework that you have put out, which they're supposed to follow in training these, recruits from the colleges of education?
But the institutions, each year the report that we write, we give them copy. So that the report also states the areas the questions come from, their performance, their strengths, and their weaknesses. And aside that, as I have said also, we have it in our website, so there's candidates and even the trainers can go there. As to whether they do that, I can't tell much. And they don't fall under NTC, they fall under GTEC.
Right.
So we don't have anything to regulate what they do there.
And I'm sure that the average viewer out there is asking, so what will we lose if we don't set this examination for these trainees? After all, they've been through the training colleges, and the feeling is that, and we've heard this from you, the teachers, that teaching is a calling. So if it's a calling, why should we be worried that, well, they failed, as someone would say, called just an ordinary teacher licensure examination? Just allow them to go into the classroom. Later on, they could come back and take the examination.
To do what?
It's just like asking you to maybe a medical doctor who has failed his exams, and then we ask that doctor to take off you. I don't think you agree. So if we allow some people to go to our classrooms, they are going to produce pupils and then students who will not fit for the society, because if you don't have it, you cannot divide it. So we expect that those who will go to the Ghanaian classroom have what it takes to teach in the classroom. So if you don't conduct the exams, it's going to be a disaster. So
practically, are there some tangible results that you're seeing about the impact of this policy ever since you started it in 2018, as you're pointing out? Yes. Are there some visible pointers to say, okay, it's impacting our education system positively?
Oh, yes. At least these people did not get a chance to go to classroom. And it's my prayer that they shouldn't get to classroom.
Right.
They will go there when they have prepared very well. And those who also passed, it means that at least they put up a little effort.
Right.
It has shaped the way some of the training institutions also train them. And some of the students even tell us that in our school, they joke. You joke with internal exams, NTC will get you. The licensure will get you. So they know that even if I'm able to manipulate, meander my way out to pass these internal exams, the licensure exams
will catch up
with me. So at least it has put some of them on their toes to learn. And at least we have also got the quality teachers to be in classroom. And as I said, I'm not happy they have failed, but I'm happy that those who do not qualify, those who cannot spell simple English words, having found themselves in classroom, they will go and misteach the students. You teach them wrong thing, and it becomes difficult to eradicate that one. So at least the impact is that the bad ones have been sieved out.
But the accusation also here is that you're learning from the likes of the other professional groups that we have already in this country. And we know the history about them. I don't want to pinpoint on the various professional groups we have, each and every one of them creating some sort of a community and quote and unquote this feeling that you don't want more people to join your profession. That is becoming, the norm and the rhetoric around this whole licensure examination. Is it the case that, Mr. Domi, your group, as teachers, you're trying to create your own community and to shield others from having that privilege of getting into the classrooms and teaching as well?
That's not the case. Because if you look at the mandate of National Teaching Council, we are even supposed to ensure that all the private schools,
so you are coming to the private.
All the private schools are filled with professional teachers. So we don't even have enough teachers in the system to fill all the private schools, let alone cutting them off. So that's not the intention of this policy. But as my brother said, it's meant to get the best for our classrooms. So it's not meant to cut off.
So you'll be going to the, if I get that right, you'll be going to the private schools from here?
Oh,
you are also assessing them differently. How are you?
We started. So if you go to private schools, those who don't have professional qualification, we give them short courses for them to get what you call emergency certificate to teach. Or per the law, if you are not licensed, you cannot even teach in Ghana. So because we know that a lot of them are non-professional teachers, it's a gradual process that we are doing with the private schools. So we started.
Okay, so you would not allow anyone to teach, not even in a private school, if the person does not possess the license?
Yes. That's what the law says.
That's what the law says. But
are we sure we'll get the numbers?
We have begun from a point. Right now, those teaching in private schools, in fact, most of them have done the education. Most of them have even written the licensure exams and they have passed. But we have some who haven't done that. And they can't do because they don't have even diploma. So as he said, short courses will be organized for them to give them temporary license, which will be renewed for them. But they will be told that they should make effort to upgrade themselves. You can't continue to teach the students with just WASI certificate. So now that we hold WASI, we can't drive you out. We've given you temporary license to work. But at the end of 3 years, you will not be allowed to renew. And at that time, you must demonstrate that you are in the process of upgrading yourself.
No, but that's why I'm asking about the numbers, because these private schools, number one, are also giving jobs. Don't forget, they're giving jobs. And you don't even have the professional ones in their numbers to fill these private institutions that we have. So it's as though you're creating some challenge there.
Well, that's why it says a gradual process. We know the challenge, so we are not rushing at all.
Okay, so you're treating the private schools differently. You're not working with the same timeline?
Yes. That's why, as a private school...
I want to understand their situation well, because...
Especially at this time, they are even taught by those who have just WASI or SSC. We've not driven them away. They can continue to teach. But why don't we support them? Give them some in-service training at least so that they will be able to perform well. And give them that license. At the end of the year, they are allowed to renew for 3 times. And we are encouraging them that now that we have distance and that sandwich program, if you are still interested in teaching, then take opportunity so that you upgrade yourself. So at the end of the year, at the third year, even if you haven't graduated, and we see that you are in the process of being hot, to upgrade yourself, then you continue. But we can't allow you to still maintain there with your WASI. No, this time things are changing.
Okay. So do you have a timeline that you're working with in terms of when you phase out the SSC or WASI teachers who are also teaching in these private institutions?
For now, we don't have any time.
Okay, so you don't have any time. It will take some time for you to
but it's not easy to tell proprietor, drive all your teachers away,
right.
bring in
a new one.
It's not possible.
Okay. Well, we need to go. Is there any message, and let me start with you, Mr. Domji, is there any message for students, prospective ones who would be taking, the next one will be next year? The next batch?
No,
okay.
The reform will take place somewhere September this year.
Okay, right.
The last chance for those who have referrals will be somewhere November.
Okay. Is there any, because we're speaking to some of the trainees, we went to Campus Day, for instance, the Accra College, just to engage some of them. Some are anxious, for instance, that, well, if you're looking at this level of failure with this group of people, they may also suffer the same fate. What message do you have for such students who are anxious and are not sure of what may happen?
Yes, they should not be scared at all. We always put in place some interventions for them. So now when you register, we give you a link, and that link will lead you to past questions that have been solved and the reason for the answers. So I will just encourage them that when they register and they are given the link, they should go to that site and study what is there. Even though you may not find exact questions in your exams, but you will see that the trend of the questions will be similar. So they should not be panicked. They should take courage and continue to learn hard.
Okay. And for those who have another chance in November?
Another chance in November. But I have interacted with some of them.
Okay.
And you will see that you don't make attempt to study. You wrote and you failed, and you still go and write with that same mentality. So I'm only encouraging them. Numeracy, you can even, if your brother completed WASI and is good at mathematics, he can help you. Literacy, the same thing. At least they should find some teachers to help them. But you have written, you failed, you don't do anything. Or we had discussions. But discussion among your colleagues who also failed. So they should look for...
Bring those who made it.
Who made them, who made it. Yeah. And it is not difficult. I believe this.
The way you're saying it with ease, maybe, maybe you're not writing the exam, so that's why. Some say, well, they are the ones feeling the pain when they go into the exam hall, actually.
We have to bring those who wrote and passed.
Yeah.
And there was a year they came to our office, those who had failed. So they were given their own scripts.
Yeah.
There was one gentleman who had passed the literacy, but he had failed in numeracy. So he didn't have problem with literacy. And we showed him the script of...
Okay, the challenge he had.
The script of his colleagues who failed in literacy. Right. And he read it. I saw this one.
He was even surprised.
He was even surprised. You're lucky. If somebody who is good at mathematics were here, we will show him your scripts. Right. So dear colleagues who have passed, I'll be happy if you could interview those who have passed and ask them about these exams. They will tell you it's not all that difficult.
Anyway, gentlemen, I'm grateful that you spent some time with us. You wanted to point out something very
last one that I want to put across is that the exams, the questions are serialized. So in the same examination room, your question number one is my question number one, but the options are different. So if you are sitting by somebody and you want the person to whisper.
That's not even possible.
Yeah, whisper. The person may give...
Have mercy. Have mercy on...
give wrong. So I'm just advising them. They should always...
This must be a tough one,
They should always concentrate on their work. They should do independent work. And
wow. This must be tough.
The same questions. But the possible answers, yours is in A, but mine is in D. So if I ask you and you tell me A, and at times somebody will get his or hers correct, but he will whisper, So number one, the answer is B. He also got correct. Then he will
Change the answer.
change it and write that one.
So no sign languages.
No anymore. And they should study. The one that we just wrote, the essay. One candidate, instead of writing the essay, wrote the name of a popular prophet in the script.
So that the one marking may be influenced?
Magic.
I don't know his orientation.
Right.
That if there's a difficulty, just mention the name of your prophet or just write. So instead of the essay, he wrote the name of the prophet in the script.
Wow.
Some also would write, please help me. Please help me. And they will even provide their telephone
I hope
numbers.
they don't add money to the
No,
scripts.
they only
by the
provide the
way.
telephone numbers.
But anyway, it's been wonderful having a conversation with you. Thank you all for joining us. And I'm sure that this conversation will continue. I'm being told now that, of course, some of the students who also took the exams are joining us via Zoom. Patience Aqua is a teacher. Michael Ayene has also passed that exams. Michael, how was it for you and what was your experience?
With the NTC exams, it's something that sometimes you have to deal with your primary knowledge, because when you go to the school, sometimes the focus is on content to the neglect of pedagogy and methodology. The essential skills, to be specific, is all about classroom practices and instructional design, instructional practices in the classroom, and how you manage classroom issues. So if you find yourself in a school where you have studied a particular course, you know very well, but you do not have instructional or methodological knowledge, some of those things are a bit tricky. And sometimes, because they are objectives, you are limited or you are restricted to choosing what they have given you. But all in all, it was good. It was better. I won't say it was easy, because easy is relative.
Sir Eric Kanani, Dean of the Institute of Education, University of Cape Coast. Prof, you've been listening to the position of the NTC, some of the students who've taken the examinations. And for you, how do we make this better, and also to provide the opportunity for more prospective students to make it, to succeed, and to teach as they want to?
Thank you very much for having me, and good evening. First of all, let me correct this. I'm the director at the Institute of Education, University of Cape Coast, not the dean. My dean is there. And yeah, coming back to the question, as we are discussing, I think it's good to have this because it's all about teacher professionalism. And when you talk about professionalism, what is it that should go into it? I think that is also another question that we need to ask ourselves. And the fact that we want our teachers to have specialized body of knowledge to be able to manage our classrooms and guide our learners to also learn very well. And as a common adage, we all know that a nation is good as its teachers. And the learning that takes place depends on the quality of teachers you have in the classroom. And therefore, all this is geared towards teacher professionalism and improved classroom teaching, and also having quality teachers. So I think all the discussions are good, especially when we want to change course and make sure that we now have our classrooms to be good for learning to take place and also to develop the nation as a whole. Now, from what those who have experienced the examination and those who are yet to experience are saying, I must say that it's all about characteristics of students when it comes to examinations. For example, some of them are saying that we don't have syllabus or we don't have course outlines for them to follow. If we understand professional examinations the world over, we really don't have a course outline because it is a totality of whatever you have gone through during your training. And we try to come out with a minimum sort of establishment of your ability to manage classrooms and also to do basic computation. Because as a teacher, you should be able to manage the data of your students and be able to analyze and see where you can provide either a remediation or any other thing. So the numeracy, as has been said, is just on basic data management and also some of the reasoning questions, just logical thinking, as the director just said. And I must say that there is a guideline. The examination is set with some topics, and those topics are made available to candidates. It's available. So we don't have curriculum that they can just go to study, let me say, chill or pass, but there is a guideline in terms of what you should focus on in terms of the essential professional skills, the literacy, and the numeracy. So generally, I think these discussions are good to make people aware of whatever they are doing. Thank you.
Those who may have another opportunity later in November, as we understand, how do you feel they could better, make better their performance? I mean, the previous ones did not help out. So are there some changes you would expect, or some maybe practical measures they could put in place to sail through? Because the notion is that this is a difficult issue when, of course, the NTC says that's not the case.
Yeah, thank you very much. I must say that I'm an assessment expert and a psychometrician as such, and there is something we call true score of an individual in terms of ability that people have. If you give a group of people some examination for about 3 times and they are scoring the same thing, the probability of them scoring is very scoring higher than whatever they've done over the years is very difficult. You see, in situating this discussion, I think we shouldn't focus on only the failure rate. We should look at what the failure rate tells us. I think that these are candidates who have gone through the examination for a number of times, some of them even about 9 times. Is it allowed in any profession? I think probably it's allowed because this is new in teaching, and therefore NTC is allowing the system to evolve and to be able to take its course. Other than that, somebody who has taken the examination for 9 times with questions such as, if you are going to buy something from a shop and it costs 75 cities, and you have 20 city denomination, 10 city denomination, 5 city denomination, how many of each would you use to pay? This is not mathematics. This is just pure reasoning or just combination. So some of the questions I think we need to have a look at and ask ourselves, what are we doing to make sure that our classrooms are really having the quality of teachers we have? Because if you are to say that you have trained them with the taxpayers' money, and therefore you should allow them to go to the classroom, what are we also thinking of the taxpayer's child or the future taxpayer? How are we going to have that learning that is needed happening in our classrooms? So I think we need to situate it in that context and see that these are reciters and they've written it a number of times. So I would even suggest that we find a way of making sure that if people are not able to go through the examination, there is a ceiling on it, as it is done in every examination. But that said, I think the director said that they have put a number of questions there for people to practice. It is fair that people get to know the direction and also the needs of the examination or the demands of the examination so that they can follow. So there are a number of questions there for them to practice, to know how or the demands of the question. And that can guide them to be able to respond to the issues that are requested. So if we want to change the narrative, and if the teacher candidates involved who want to change the narrative, then they need to visit the system that has been provided and then get into practice. Now, going forward, I think what we can do is that our institution should use this as a transformational platform to change the way we train our people, the content we focus on, and the way they are assessed in our school systems. I must say that I think this is giving us questions to answer. And as trainers, people who are training teachers in the system, as to the way we are training them, is it the best? The way we assess them, is it the best? How can we improve the system using this as a guide going forward? So that is what I would say about probably how they can improve in November, just to practice and make sure that they get to know the demands of the questions that are asked.
Prof, grateful for your time. We're wrapping up. Let me give the final thoughts to Patience Aqua. You're also a teacher, and you've been hearing some of the accounts of this, those who've taken the licensure examination. You have an experience to share, or perhaps just a brief contribution as we wrap up? Patience, you'd have to unmute so we can hear you.
You have to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
Yes, please, sorry. Yes, thank you for the opportunity. With the issue of licensure, the experience was something else. It was right from school, you were asked to go and write licensure exams that you had no idea of what to write or what to even study. But from studying some past questions and so we were able to write it. But then the experience was that you could realize that most people were complaining about the content itself. During our 4 years in school, you come to realize that most of the things that were being asked as questions were things that we did somewhere in secondary schools, and sometimes to come to realize that some of us, it took us years to come to the university, so issues of numeracy and all those things, calculations and thinking to a certain level was quite different. Our opinion was of the view that why is it that we were not assessed on the courses that we studied at the university? Because you come to the university, you study a particular course for 4 good years, your mind is tuned to that. And then right after school, you are asked to write something that you really have not put your mind to it. Yes, we understand that issues of professionalism means you must be good and fluent in English. You should be able to at least reason to a certain level, and you should have classroom management skills. But at the end of the day, how the questions were being framed, some people looking at their IQ level, it became difficult for others to actually comprehend. So personally, I believe people failing the exams is not because they do not have the requisite skills or knowledge, but possibly comprehension became the problem. But going forward, I believe possibly if the NTC board could find a way to possibly engage prospective teachers in some form of in-service training whilst doing their national service for about a month or 2 before they are actually allowed to write their licensure exams. Possibly that could help a lot of people to be able to pass the licensure exams. And then going forward, I keep asking myself, at the end of writing the exams, what's next? You write the exams, you pass. Most people have the certificates, but then they are still home, not practicing. Some have even, their licenses has even expired after 2 years. The license has even expired and they are still home. They are professional teachers having their licenses, but they are still not practicing. So if the person sits home for about 4 to 5 years after writing the NTC exams, and then finally the person is recruited and the person is unable to perform, who do we blame?
I see. Interesting questions you're asking there. Well, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this afternoon as we look at this very critical matters. Thank you to Patience, to the rest of the team online, and to you in studio for joining us. You're still watching The Pulse here on the Joy News channel. When we get back, we'll bring you some more stories. The Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative says there are of course, evidence that it has in custody, pointing to an urgent need to take steps to establish an independent police complaints committee here in Ghana to check and investigate cases of extrajudicial killings. The non-profit group argues that this year alone has seen and reported quite a number of extrajudicial killings by police officers allegedly in self-defense, with the latest concerns emerging over the recent media reports of a shooting of 5 individuals who are suspected to be land guards by the Ghana Police Service at Botiano in the Greater Accra region. While condemning the recurring use of lethal force by the police service in dealing with the suspects, the group is also calling for a thorough independent investigations to bring the police officers responsible to justice. Well, there are a number of recommendations being made by this very statement that we've seen released by the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, and accordingly they are recommending the following. A, they want, of course, that in the absence of the Independent Police Complaint Committee, SHRAC should take up the matter and conduct investigations into the shootings incident, and also try to bring to book the officers found culpable. Next, there's also a demand that the Ministry of Interior and the Attorney General's office must work with some of the civil society organizations to finalize a draft legal framework into the necessary approval and direction for draft bill on the establishment of the Police Complaint Committee. And they are equally asking the government of Ghana to resource the Ghana Police Service to provide to be provided actually with the requisite protective equipment and body cameras which will enable them carry out their duties effectively. And the police service, according to the position of the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, must adhere to the United Nations Code of Conduct for Law Enforcement for officials, as well as the UN Basic Principles on the use of force and firearms by law enforcement officials. So that's the statement coming through from the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative. Let's bring in now Haraya Saidi, who's the program's officer, Access to Justice at the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative. Thank you for spending some time with us. How soon would you want this commission to be formed, by the way?
Thank you for having me. The committee needs to be formed as soon as possible.
Of course, many are wondering what the essence will be, considering the fact that there are institutional arrangements within the Ghana Police Service aimed at checking the professional conduct of its members. There's PEEPs, for instance, within the Ghana Police Service. What will be different when you have the IPCC that you're asking for?
Right. So PIPS is now PPSB, and they are the internal operational mechanism for the police, right? So they have the way that they conduct their investigations with whatever priorities they need to meet. Now, when they are done with their investigations, the information is not made public. So people who have petitioned, people who have had their rights violated by the police don't have any sort of respite, because you haven't received any report of whatever investigations have been made, and you will not get those reports, right? So if we had an independent police complaint unit, these reports, these investigations, the outcomes, they would all be made public for the people to realize that the police doesn't get away with violating their rights.
And it's not as though you're making the point that you do not believe whatever it is that the Ghana Police Service is telling you. Your statement appears to be tilted towards those who are falling victim to this extrajudicial killings. The feeling is that the police service and its personnel may have been facing some danger for which they're using force.
Well, yes, we are trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. So we are making room for the possibility of fear being the driving factor for why they seem to be a bit trigger happy, if you will. So if they had the required protective gear, we believe that should deal with that issue of fear and them feeling unsafe when they have to deal with suspects.
The demand on the Ghana Police Service to provide body cams, and not necessarily the police service, you're also escalating that to the governmental level. You want the central government to provide body cameras. We've had that conversation before. It's not as though it's not come up, but it appears, given the position in which we find ourselves as a country, we may not find the resources now. You agree?
I agree, but I know that the right stakeholders are putting things in place to ensure that these things are met, because they are part of the things that are required of the security forces and law enforcement.
And would you say that these are the only 4 factors that for you at the Human Rights Initiative, when addressed, will completely end the issue of extrajudicial killings? Is that the suggestion?
Not necessarily, but we believe that these will be major steps that will be taken to ensure that these things don't happen or are reduced to the barest minimum.
Okay, grateful. Haria and Saidi joining us, Programs Officer Access to Justice for the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative. You're watching us. This is the Joy News channel. We are on the pulse, and of course, we'll be getting to some more stories now, having heard from the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, which is making a number of demands there on the issue of extrajudicial killings. But beyond that as well, there are a number of stories that we're looking at. We'll bring all that to you after this. Please stay. Staying with us, the lead advocate for sickle cell condition advocates, that's Madame Charlotte Owusu, has charged government and the Ghana Health Service to critically pay attention to the issues of sickle cell advocacy as a means of preventing the increase in sickle cell patients across the country. She said the barrier to quality health care services in the country makes it imperative that prevention is the only way forward to curb the rise in the number. Joining us is Elvis Washington, has more in this report.
June 19 each year is a day set aside as a Sickle Cell Awareness Day. The awareness is observed each year to throw light on the need for the public to know about the sickle cell disease. This year's theme for the awareness campaign is Building and Strengthening Global Sickle Cell Communities, Formalizing Newborn Screening, and Knowing Your Sickle Cell Disease Status with the hashtag Break the Chain. Get tested, know your status. In Ghana, the day was observed in Tema, where volunteers were made to test to know their statuses. Madame Charlotte Owusu, the lead advocate who launched this year's campaign, mentioned the need for all to get tested.
25% are carriers of the disease, with 23% who are healthy carriers, AS and AC, and with 2% who are the sickle cell disease people, that is the SS and the SCs. We have 75 people who are AA. They don't have the sickle cell at all in them. And so conveniently we can put, you can easily look for, if you are in the 25%, you can easily look for a partner from the 70%, 75%. So we all were telling them it's necessary that you know, because the situation as it is, we are not too good in, we are not well versed in the care of sickle cell. There are so many lapses in the system, and people are dying. My daughter died.
Madame Charlotte Owusu cautioned people from believing that their statuses could change through prayers and deliverance.
No, don't look there at all. No means. People say they'll pray and it will change. I wouldn't believe that. It doesn't change, my dear. It is like that till thy kingdom you go.
A retired dietitian, Madame Margaret Hansen, who graced the occasion, mentioned that it is important that people eat well to prevent diet-related diseases.
If you eat well, you can prevent not only looking after sickness, but a lot of these, what we call diet-related diseases, can be prevented. Number 1, diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol, liver disease, renal problems, where you have to pay a lot of money to do dialysis. These can all be prevented if you eat well. At Nabita, they call me moderation. I'm not saying don't eat, but everything in moderation. I must say, food contributes a lot to our health.
For Joy News, my name is Elvis Washington, reporting from Tema.
Well, we're fortunate to be joined in studio now by Charlotte Owusu, who's the CEO for the Sickle Condition Advocates. She's one of the advocates, and Kweku Yepoa is one of the individuals also joining us in studio today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for spending some time with us. We saw you in the video there, of course, very passionate about creating more awareness and devoting some time to persons who are living with the sickle cell condition. But for many who do not know about the condition, who are not educated enough, what can you say about the condition itself?
The condition is, inherited from both parents. One parent alone cannot have a child with sickle cell. They pick one cell each from each parent, and they make it their own. That's why you heard me saying that if you are AAS or AAC, or SS or SC, you've got to go to the 75 people who are AA, and you have healthy children. For AS and AS, if like me, it's a 25% chance that you would have a sickle cell child, and you can never know. I had 2 children, and they both were sickle cell, and the other 75 to 50%, you could have a carrier child. And 25, you could even have a child AA who doesn't have. So it's always good. You cannot know. A woman had 5 children. 4 of them had sickle cell. Only 1 skipped. So you can't say you can go in for that. The disease is such that, as we have experienced, there's no need for us to just sit down and let people go into this situation, which we have been through. We are daily basis. We are experiencing some kind of hardship, and we feel that we should do something about it.
Would you advise that people check, just willingly go and check, so they know their condition, their blood type, and then make informed decisions going forward?
It's a sickle cell type, a genotype. They should go and know before they even fall in love. Because when you are in love, you think, oh, if there's a chance of 75% chance that you may not have it, you will think you can make it. So you should check. What we are advocating is that the youth should know. Okay. It's prevention for the new generation who should know before they get together and marry. Already the churches are doing something about it. Right. Like, they wait till, when they come to them to be put together, and they ask them to go and check.
And at that point, it becomes a bit difficult.
Yes, it's difficult. There are a whole lot of things they are doing which we can't. Right. So we advise that the youth should know before they fall in love with any situation, anywhere they are. They should be able to. And now, fortunately, we've got a quick check on that. In 10 minutes, we can know your sickle cell.
Oh, you can detect that in just 10 minutes.
We are going to do it for you.
Amazing. We'll talk about that. But Kweku, you're also here. What do you have to add to the story of what people should know, how they could even adjust when they discover that they have maybe the condition? What would you say about that?
Okay, so I see people don't want to know whether they carry the gene or not. But so the basic thing is that people need to decide that they know exactly what is running through their veins. Okay, so now when you go to any lab and ask them for an electrophoresis, they would give you exactly what you are, which is whether you are AA, AS, or SS. For us, the SS people, we already know what is happening in our veins. And we don't wish it on anybody. That's why we've put together this campaign to let people know their gene type before they fall in love. So we've been working around the schools. We've been working with schools, with higher education institutions, senior high schools, telling them that sickle cell is real, it's an African disease. They should find out what blood is running through them. In some places in Legon, we were there about 2 months ago, and we were also in Accra Technical. We are letting them test before they have affection, they fall in love, and they say, oh, no, God will help us. God won't help you. God has already given you the knowledge. And if you do this to your child won't let you pass. Because last week, there was a girl in our office and she was saying that every day she's in pain. And now my mom is asking her, are you sure every day you are in pain? Because you tell her, oh, your leg is aching, your hand is aching, your joints are aching. She's like, every day you are complaining. Every day you're complaining. Indeed, for the men, they'll let you go. I tell the women that they should pay attention. They are the base of the family. So if they don't find out what they are and they think, oh, they have been with this guy too long, and so they won't let it go, God will help them. No, God won't help.
Okay, when you say it's an African disease, condition, what
do I mean?
Yes, what description?
Okay, it's only in Africa. It's only south of the Sahara. I think it's because of malaria that God did the condition, so that your blood molecules will die after a short time. When malaria comes into the AS guys, it goes out quickly. So they really never get sick. So they are surprised when they have kids who are SS and they are always sick. Now, when it is AS, and they come together and the child picks the S from the mother, the S from the father, and the child is SS. Now, the child's blood dies every 2 weeks. So every time the child is urinating, you see it's yellow. It's because the blood is renewing. Your blood doesn't have time to get fat. Your blood doesn't have time to do other things. It's just going out by the day. And so you are always weak. You are always in pain one way or the other. We are telling you, don't do that to your child. Because when I was in my teens, now I was recalcitrant because you know that they knew and they gave it to you. And then after some time, you come to understand it. My dad left my mom because now you have kids and you find out, oh no, you leave the woman. Most guys will leave the woman. So this campaign, we're actually telling the woman that go and test, because no matter how much he loves you, if you are only giving birth to children who are almost always sick, he will let you go.
That will create some challenges.
Yes.
And I'm sure that's why you're organizing the event. So let's speak about it and where next you'll be going to. What's likely to happen in the coming days?
By God's grace, we've come that far. For the past 40 years, I've been talking about the prevention, to the extent that even in UK, they invited me to show them how this prevention, they could do it. And they started helping the people. Now, we've done a lot, going to schools, as Kuku said, going to churches to tell them, show them videos, like we did yesterday. We showed videos to, in Alisa Hotel, where we had the program. We showed it to the staff. And, as soon as the first group came and they saw that it was necessary, they went in. So we've done this for a long time. Formally, we were just talking and showing them the films. And if you want to test, we asked a laboratory to come in to
do the test.
Do the test for them. And it was a day's 24 hours. Unfortunately, we had this kit and it has come. So instantly we can know. So we want to give it to the churches. Last year, June 19th fell on a Sunday. So we didn't know what to do. I said, okay, then let's ask the churches to pray for us. So from that time till now, we've been praying that if the government will take hold of that and say the prevention is indeed necessary, then we'll give it to the churches. They will run and do it.
So you want to scale this up to a national exercise?
It's a national exercise. We've given it to the government already.
Wow.
We've told them, and they have approved that the churches, the Muslims, even on Friday, went to the mosque chief imam, yes, to test them, and they are now going to do big time. We are going to give the kits to them. The test kits.
To carry out the test.
Yes, they have health units within the church, all the churches. The churches will say Christian Council, Charismatic and Pentecostal Council, Catholic Bishop, and all of them. We give it to the headquarters.
So if anyone wants to reach out, Can they easily do so? Are there some means by which they can get in touch?
Okay. Actually, tomorrow we are partnering with multimedia to do
amazing.
testing in front of multimedia.
Okay. So that's a great news. I was keeping it as a secret, but now it's out. So that's what I was waiting for.
Okay. So tomorrow we are partnering with multimedia to do testing in front.
Okay.
It is subsidized mostly by multimedia, and so we are doing a test on the spot for 30 CDs. And so we are asking anybody who would hear it and is around multimedia and can come to pass in front.
Even if you're not around, you can just find some time.
Yes, and come
around.
Do the test. Do the test. Yeah. And so we will be here tomorrow, and we're asking for partnership. Any organization that is willing that we do it for their youth, especially if they have young staff, would come and do it for them at a subsidized rate. We are doing this from now until about the end of July. And so tomorrow we'll be here.
You'll be here as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me take your final words. Any message to the youth? You're very big on the youth, so what message would you like to send?
So what I'm telling the youth is that they should know. They should know their status before they fall in love. Tell the guy that they love the guy. They don't love the guy when the child starts getting sick. One time the child is in the hospital. 2-3 times the child is fed up with that hole you are drilling in his pocket. So before you fall in love, you decide you are going to come together with somebody, please find out what is running through your veins and what you would give to your child. And sickle cell is one of them. That's my...
And for you?
Yes, we are hoping that, as he's just said, we get partners to help so that we roll it throughout the country. Fortunately, we have done a lot of advocacy around the country, especially in the northern part of Ghana. We were there for 3 months and we really gave it to them. Now the people know. You see that now people can
conscious about
but they think it's not necessary.
Right.
Black people, they don't want to talk about health, which is very unfortunate. They should know before they do anything.
Right.
And so the churches, we know they will do it because that is what they have been doing, asking them to do. The Muslims are going to do it. They were going to give it to the chiefs and other people. It's a pack which will go for all of them.
And it's all starting tomorrow. So you need to, of course, come here, right here to our premises here at Joy News. You can just ask anyone around. They'll bring you here so you can be a part of the whole exercise. Thank you all for spending some time with us here. And as we wrap up on the polls with me, Blessed Sugan, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. We have stories for you there. We have this special conversation that we're leaving you with. It's an exclusive interaction with wife of the late Pakwesi Emisa-Arthur, former Vice President of the Republic. Madam Matilda Emisa-Arthur has been speaking to my colleague Aisha Ibrahim. Enjoy it as we wrap up. Thank you.
Ghana will be hosting the 2023 version of the World Convention of the Full Gospel Business Men's Fellowship International on July 13. Some 2,500 Christian businessmen and women from all continents of the world are expected to congregate in Ghana for that meeting. We're lucky today to sit with the coordinator of the ladies wing of the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship, and she's no other person than Mrs. Matilda Emisa-Arthur. I'm glad to sit with you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
And what have you been up to?
I've been in my corner, minding my own business, writing books and editing books, and training others.
So you are the national coordinator of the ladies wing of the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship International. What are ladies doing in a men's fellowship?
Yes, the ladies in the fellowship are called Ladies of the Fellowship.
Okay.
So I'm the national coordinator of the Ladies of the Fellowship Ghana.
Okay.
Full Gospel is predominantly a men's organization, as was given to the founder.
Okay.
Let me just put it in perspective for you. An Armenian American dairy farmer had a vision where God asked him to form a fellowship.
Okay.
Based on the fact that a lot of men would rather drop their families at church and not go to church.
Okay.
And go and sit in either hotels and drink or play golf, and then after the church service, go and pick their families. So in the vision, God told Demos Shakarian to find these men and let them congregate where they go, the hotels, and talk about themselves and talk about God, so that what they miss out from the church, they would gain.
Okay.
So that was the genesis of Full Gospel. So it was predominantly to men, and that is how Demo started this. But along the line, the men were coming with their wives, just not to as members, but the wives would tag along, and then the wives would serve the tea and the coffee and whatnot. Gradually, other women who were not spouses of the men who went to Full Gospel also find their way there. So in 2012, the international office decided that something had to be done. And so the ladies of the fellowship was formed. And in Ghana, in 2013, it was inaugurated. So just briefly to give you a background.
Oh, wow, interesting. So the women, how would you describe this one? Is it different from what we've come to know as Women Aglow? How different is this one?
Women Aglow is a women's fellowship. Whereas Full Gospel is a men's fellowship. Men meeting, sharing their testimonies, ordinary men, doctors, lawyers, plumbers, teachers, tailors, teachers meeting, talking about what God has done for them. So that means that in Full Gospel, you must be gainfully employed to be a member.
Okay.
You must also be a Christian. However, if you're not a Christian and you find your way there, one of the things that will happen to you is you'll be helped to come to the saving knowledge of God. So men meet and talk about themselves, and the women are part of the men. We work on chapter basis. So for example, in Ghana, we have chapters all over Ghana. I belong to the East Legon chapter, and the chapter has men and women. So men hold positions. Women are not elected to positions, but women can be appointed. So for example, I was appointed national coordinator of the Ladies of the Fellowship, but I cannot become a chapter president. So we, together with the men, meet once a week. We call it seminar meetings, where we talk about things to do with business, because you know we are businessmen and women. So we have seminar meetings where we talk about different things like careers, we talk about marketing, we talk about finance, we talk about any social thing you can think of. And then we also talk about spiritual things, because one of the things that happens in Full Gospel is when you come, you will be empowered spiritually. For example, if you don't know the gifts that you are endowed with, you will be helped to identify your gifts. And you'll be trained in a way that you can use those gifts effectively for yourself and also to glorify God.
So let's talk about how effective the ladies have been in this fellowship so far.
With the ladies, there's a national executive. And the national executive, if you like, oversees all the ladies' affairs in the country. Under the national executive, we have various ministries. We have a prison ministry, a schools ministry, we have an orphanage ministry, hospital ministry, maternity ministry, we have a market ministry, we have a publicity section. So, for example, under the schools ministry, every Friday, the team goes to schools to talk to the children about God, morals, and things. We have a prison ministry where they visit the prisons, not just to donate food items and things, but also to engage the warders and the prisoners in talks as to how to change their lives. The maternity ministry also does the same. The hospital ministry also does the same. So that is nationally what we do. In every region, we have a ladies coordinator, a regional ladies coordinator. And the regions, if you like, mirror what is done national. So that, for example, if we are going to, last month, for example, the prison ministry went to the secondary prison. Instead of people going from Accra to go secondary, the secondary ladies of the fellowship will organize everything, and just a couple of people will go from Accra, and it is done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how do you then respond to accusations that the fellowship in general, and that means the ladies and the men, have not really done much or have failed in the fight against corruption and immorality in our society?
Are you saying that we are being accused of that?
Yes.
By who?
Well, I mean, because it is one of your core mandates, or one of the things that you champion, people think that you really haven't done much in that direction.
You know, fighting against corruption and things takes different forms. In the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship, we have what we call unashamedly ethical. Okay. Unashamedly ethical is a global movement that anybody can belong to. Okay. Full Gospel as a fellowship is a member of unashamedly ethical. Okay. And what unashamedly ethical stands for is to help people in whatever business you are doing, wherever you are, to be ethical in what you do. Therefore, for example, if you are a contractor and you are a member of Full Gospel and you are also signed on to unashamedly ethical, you make an understanding, you make a commitment that in your business you will follow ethical rules and you will do your business ethically and you will not cut any corners. Okay. That, in my view, it's working against corruption and everything. Okay. Again, one of the things we do as a body in our training, the seminars I'm talking about, is to empower people to know that they have to be ethical in whatever they are doing. And we teach them and we encourage them to do things with moral, ethical values. Okay. So if we are training people and if we are in different chapters and if our members are ethical, then we have definitely supported the fight in corruption.
What are the ladies in the fellowship doing about the rising unemployment rate, especially among female school leavers?
So the ladies, for example, when the teams go to the school, we have paid school fees, we have helped people acquire skills. One of our flagship programs is the Markets Ministry. Okay. And in the Markets Ministry, women who are illiterates have been taught how to read and write, first in the local language, and then in English, primarily so that whatever they sell, they can be able to do basic bookkeeping and accounting, write their names, and do just the little things that help them. And we have stories about people who could not read and write, who are now reading, writing, can now at least do basic accounting. And somewhere in Tema, there's this young child who is not a market person, but the mother benefited from this program, and therefore the mother was able to teach the child, and now the child reads.
Yeah. So, I mean, how would you describe the success so far, I mean, in trying to bridge the unemployment gap in your own small way? How has it been so far?
A couple of days ago, I went to an event where the guest speaker actually said a lot about what Full Gospel has done for men in Ghana. And then just this last Sunday, in my church, at Widanwo Church, the pastor in charge, Professor Samuajidu, actually said to my amazement, that he wants to thank Full Gospel. He said that because the international president of Full Gospel is a Ghanaian.
Okay.
And is in the same church with me. So said he wants to thank Full Gospel because a lot of men would have been wayward, a lot of families would have been wayward, but for Full Gospel, who instilled moral, ethical values in their men, and therefore the men went home and became better husbands. And the same for the ladies who are in Full Gospel.
Okay.
If you commit to the teachings of Full Gospel, if you commit to the way things are done in Full Gospel, you become a better wife, a better mother, a better worker. And therefore, in Full Gospel, the ladies, the men are empowered, not just to serve God in churches. That is wrong. We are marketplace people. So wherever you are is your marketplace. If you are a teacher, the classroom is your marketplace. If you are a doctor, the hospital. Media Apple, the media landscape is your marketplace. So wherever you find yourself, affect those people. Let them see the difference that you make because you know God and because you are morally right. And that in itself will spill over.
Tell me about the World Convention coming up on July 13. What's the objective?
So every year, Full Gospel hosts a World Convention, and this year it's coming in Ghana. The theme is Empowered for Service. It's a 3-day convention from the 13th to 15th of July, where people from all over the world will meet. There are seminars. For example, we have the main theme that is Empowered for Service, and then we have a youth forum, we have a business expo, we have seminars on family, marriage, finance, business, and then we have a ladies conference. Apart from the fact that people are coming to Ghana, spending, and therefore it helps the economy. There's also the aspect of participants learning and being enriched in different aspects of life. And then there's the spiritual side of it, where spiritually you'll be empowered. For example, we have speakers like Joshua Selman. I don't know if you know Joshua Selman from Nigeria. Joshua Selman is a world-acclaimed speaker, motivator, miracle worker. He's coming to speak. And Joshua Selman, I'm sure, would not only teach people Christian beliefs and things, but there will be a miracle service where, God willing, the power of the Holy Spirit will be manifested. One of the things we believe in Full Gospel is the manifestation of the Holy Spirit. Because our founder, Demon Shakarian, founded this fellowship on the basis of visions that he had. And all these visions were through the works of the Holy Spirit. So we do not leave the Holy Spirit out of anything we are doing. So one of the greatest things that's going to happen these 3 days is the empowerment of the Holy Spirit, where ordinary men and women will manifest the power of the Holy Spirit. And that means that through healing, through prophesying, through the various gifts of the Holy Spirit.
What role specifically will the ladies be playing in this 3 days convention?
In the 3 days, the hospitality is what the ladies do. For example, when they come to Ghana, the welcoming, making sure that they are comfortable. If you like, the proverbial Ghanaian hospitality, that's what we do. But our main is the ladies conference that comes on the 14th of July. 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. We have Dr. Pearl Coupe. Dr. Pearl Coupe is an attorney from South Africa. She's an international global speaker. She is herself a businesswoman, and she runs a women's ministry. She'll be speaking on the theme, Empowered for Service. In these times and seasons, everybody, not just ladies, must know how to position themselves and be able to make do with what God provides. One of the things that we're going to learn during the ladies' conference is how to harness our resources as women, how to complement each other, and how to uplift each other to change the narrative. You know, a lot of the times we are stuck in our feminist roles and the roles that society works out for us. But in the Bible, if we take Deborah, if we take Esther, we see how God used them to save Israel. So in that ladies' conference, the women are going to be empowered. The women are going to be stirred up to be able to see the potentials that they have and to harness them and make something good of it so that we live a fulfilled life.
What impact are you looking forward to, actually having on, especially the young ladies, after this convention?
The women's conference, for example, is open to the public. So we're going to go out and give invitations.
Okay.
And Full Gospel is an adult fellowship. We have the youth fellowship in the university and they also come in. For example, in the ladies' conference, we are hoping that every lady who comes, whether you are an adult or you are a youth, will go away having understood fully the potentials that you have. And having understood that you can harness your abilities and your skills, not just to change yourself, but to affect other people and therefore change your society.
Are there business opportunities?
Yes, there's a big business expo. From the 13th to the 15th, there is the whole convention is being held at the Grand Arena. The Grand Arena is on the premises of the Accra International Conference Center. When you enter, the Grand Arena is on your right. That's where the conference will be held. There will be a business expo inside the Accra International Conference Center, where all businesses in Ghana can come and exhibit. So for those who haven't come, please register and come. And the 3 days, you can exhibit your things. And there is a business seminar where businessmen and women will be not just encouraged in what they are doing,